Hey everybody, I am back for another video, and today we're going to do something just a little bit different. We are traveling, we are driving across 8 mountains in this video to get to West Virginia. So we're going from Staunton, Virginia up to Elkins, West Virginia. Come on, let's go for a ride. Alright, so we are starting it up here in Staunton, Virginia. Population 24,528. You guys probably recognize the town since I've done a few videos here in Staunton. But we're quickly going to be leaving Staunton and traveling west. Now this road is this is going to be a little different path than some people may think that you may take to get to another state, and that is normally you would go on interstate and travel if you want to go to a different location. But today we're not able to do that. It actually doesn't even make sense to take the interstate because the interstate is really kind of out of the way, and there is a 4-lane highway that goes to Elkins, but by the time you get up to that 4-lane highway, you can be halfway there going this route. So this is a 2-lane road that we're taking that's going to take us all the way up through the mountains and then ultimately to our final destination in Elkins, West Virginia. This, like I said, it is a 2-lane highway, and there is some, I guess you could say some disadvantages to driving this way for some people. One of the reasons it could be is that, well, there's just not a lot of cell service driving this way. So once you get out of this area we're in right now and we start getting into a little closer to the mountains, the cell service goes away. And when it goes away, well, you don't get it back until just a brief moment through a small little town called Monterey. And there's no cell service again until you're a little further into West Virginia. The majority of this route, you could get into a situation where you could get behind a truck, like a semi truck or one of them coal trucks. And if you get behind one of them, well, you're kind of stuck because there's not a lot of pull-offs along the majority of this route. So that's another disadvantage, I guess you could say, driving this way. It's pretty lonely. You don't see a whole lot of people, but it is a little more time efficient. So if everything goes well and you can make it there on time, then hey, you're all set if you can make it. I can usually make it here in about 2.5 hours. Don't worry, this trip is not 2.5 hours on this video, because as you can tell, I did speed up the video a little bit. I usually don't drive this fast. I wish I could make it over to West Virginia in 30 minutes, but no, it doesn't work that way. Here we are going through CHURCHVILLE, Virginia. Population 194, I believe is what that said. It is a nice little community here just outside of Staunton. And it was a pretty day here. Look out the blue sky. Well, here pretty soon we're going to get into the mountains, and that blue sky is going to turn to a little bit of a gray look to it. But right now it looks pretty nice, and we're not even in the mountains yet. It's going to take a little bit longer before we get into the mountains. Alright folks, we are now heading up a mountain. This is our very first mountain in the trip. This is going to be Shenandoah Mountain that we're going to be coming up here. And this is one of the taller mountains, and it's got some pretty tight curves, as you're going to see here in just a moment. They're about 25-mile-an-hour curves. This mountain is. That truck pulled off for me. That was really nice of him, and I wasn't riding them or anything. He was very nice pulling off because, well, once you get behind these trucks, like I said, it can be a long road. But yeah, here we go. Look at these curves. Look at that. And you can't really see too much view there, but you can see the sun coming in. One thing that's really, this has the best views out of all the mountains, because there is a nice pull off right coming up here once we get to the top. It's going to be right in a curve. You just pull off, and they have it's a nice little overlook, and then you have, very important, you have some bathrooms up there, outhouses. There they are right there. We're just going right by it. You have some outhouses that you can use, and then they even have a little trail that you can walk up. It's Civil War related, get some history with it, and I've never been all the way through that trail. I'm not sure how long the trail is. There's actually been people that's walked that trail though that's never returned. Nobody knows what's happened to them, whether a bear found them or other hazardous actions occurred. Nobody knows, so that's a great mystery. But we just got to the top. Now we're going back down Shenandoah Mountain very rapidly, it seems. It seems like I'm driving recklessly, but I'm not really driving that recklessly. It's just sped up, I promise. But it's like a wild roller coaster right here. I mean, it makes you want to like throw your arms up and just start screaming, because it does feel like that. I used to call this the roller coaster. This is the natural roller coaster right here. This whole stretch. So we're down our first mountain, and we are approaching this little community right here. This is Headwaters, I believe, and Headwaters. Actually, we just went by there. I believe that's the one that has a phone booth with it. And we're going right up to our next mountain now. The next mountain. This is Shaw's Ridge, So there's 8 mountains total: Shenandoah, Shaw's Ridge, Bull Pasture, Jack Mountain, Monterey Mountain, and guess what? We also have a Lance Mountain here, and then Allegheny, and then lastly we have Cheat, the Cheat Mountain. And Cheat is also one of the higher mountains that we'll cross. And you can see here, look how curvy this thing is. Obviously, this is on the top of a mountain, and not the greatest views right here. Still not any blooming of the trees or anything like that. Road's in pretty good condition. We haven't made it to West Virginia yet, but even on the West Virginia side, it's actually in pretty good shape. Sometimes you get some problems with potholes and things like that because of the winter. Having to maintain the road in the winter, that can cause the potholes. But this is a nice drive. So far, everything's going well. We're not getting behind a lot of slow traffic or anything like that. We're making pretty good timing. And that, as I said, there's a truck that's come right in front of us, and that's a big truck. Look at that. Luckily, we're not going to be following them too long here, but those things happen. That's just how it goes when you're driving along these twisted roads. All right, and we're in the town of McDowell, Virginia, and I couldn't find the population of McDowell. So I apologize for that. But McDowell is actually home to the Battle of McDowell that happened during the American Civil War on May 8th, 1862. And it was also named after the Governor James McDowell, Governor of Virginia from 1843 to 1846. And this route is actually called the Staunton-Parkersburg Turnpike. It travels from Staunton, Virginia to Parkersburg, West Virginia, and beyond. But that's the main focus of this turnpike between the two states is Staunton and Parkersburg. But we're not going to Parkersburg. We're going to Elkins, like we said. One thing that you got to take advantage of is these straightaways. Look at this. This is a nice straightaway right here. So take advantage of it while you can when it's a nice straightaway, because that is few and far between until you get into the next mountain, which we'll be getting into very soon, that is. Excuse me. This 250, this is Route 250, also known, like I said, as Staunton-Parkersburg Turnpike. But this route, this road, has been a central part of my life because I grew up around Philippi, West Virginia, which is where 250 goes right straight through Main Street. So I learned to drive on this road. And then later in life, when I moved to Virginia, the road was here too. So this is a pretty long road, and got a lot of history with this road. Cassie and I have driven this route back and forth many times, and we've driven it at different times of the day. I remember I used to work in it till like 1 o'clock in the morning, and we would I'd get home from work, and we would leave to go to the beach because there's less traffic, and it's a lot easier. You can make a lot better timing because when you go through the larger cities, you didn't have as much worry for traffic or road problems and things like that. So we would get up pretty early, and I remember going across these mountains completely dark, and then once we got closer to the beach, seeing the sunrise fully during that time, and it was pretty cool. Now we're coming into another town. This is the town that has cell service. That's right. This is the one town that has cell service. This is Monterey, Virginia. Population 138. I was thinking it's larger than that, but when I was looking it up, that's what it said, 138. And this is a nice little town. You can stop, get you a bite to eat, and then you can get you some gas if you need to here. Once we get up here, the cell service is going to start to get a little bad as we start to get up closer to the next mountain, which we're starting to climb here in just a moment, because it lays right between two mountains. And this is, I believe this is Monterey Mountain right here. If I'm getting their order right. Sometimes I get them mixed up because whether you're going one direction or the other direction, I get them mixed up. Now, Cassie knows the mountains by heart. She by the many times that we've crossed these mountains. Yeah, there we go. We just went by the cell phone tower. So actually, we still have a little bit more signal as far as cell coverage. Eventually, though, it will start to fade as we go a little further down this stretch. So, if you need to make an important call or something like that, or let somebody know that you're on the way home, that's what I usually do. I give a call to Cassie or whoever as I'm driving down, just to let them know I'm on my way, so they know everything's all right, or send a quick text. You actually get LTE in Monterey, so you could even pull over and watch some beautiful Rust videos if you're in the vicinity of this location. But there we go. That was Monterey, and we're moving right on, and we'll be coming up to the next mountain here pretty soon. This right here is just like a little community right here. Is all this is. We're getting closer to our destination, folks. I hope you guys are enjoying this. This was at one time. This was even a toll road at one time back in history. This was an old Indian route that was used. So they, just like a lot of roads, they take the routes that was carved out by the Indians and eventually made them highways, or I guess you could say Native Americans. That's the more political term that we should be using. Once we get to Elkins, there's going to be another video that's going to be coming, which is going to show a little bit of Elkins. So that's the purpose of this video. I'm going to show you guys how I got to West Virginia, and then we're going to start having some videos of me in West Virginia. I got some videos throughout this whole month showing some places that I visited while I was in West Virginia. And if you're a subscriber to this channel, you probably know that every once in a while I get over to West Virginia and I do a collection of videos. So this is one of them. And I've always wanted to kind of do a video of the whole drive across these mountains, because like I said, this road is very important to me. But here we are, we're on a straightaway, folks, and we're already in West Virginia at this point. So we are getting closer to the next town, and this is a nice straightaway. This is one of my favorite straightaways because you can really make up some time right here. If you keep going straight here, eventually we're going to get to an intersection. It's coming up right now, and if you make a left right here, that will take you down into Cass, like Cass Railroad or Green Bank in that area. But we're not going that way, so we made a right, and now we're going into the town of Bartow, West Virginia. This is population 111 people. So if you notice, there's not a lot of population here since we've started our trek. Staunton was the biggest city. We haven't even reached 1,000 here in our journey. And there's some towns after Bartow. We're going to go right into another town here. This is actually a little community called Frank that we're in right now. But we're going to leave Frank, and then we're going to be going into another town. This is a railroad town, actually. This is DURBIN, West Virginia, population 294. So they're a little bigger city, a little bigger town, I guess you could say. But yeah, you can actually get on a train here, and it's not for destination purposes, it's for a tourist purpose, and they can take you up into the mountains on a nice excursion. I've never done it. I'd like to do that one day. All right, so this is the last mountain. This is Cheat Mountain. So it's been a nice little drive across these mountains, and this is the final one. This is the number 8, and once we drop off of this, we'll be getting into some more population as we get a little closer to our destination. Alright, and we are in the town of Huttonsville, West Virginia. 215 people live here, and we just passed earlier the Huttonsville prison, which is a federal prison. Yeah, we just passed the prison. And we're going to see a lot more towns getting closer and closer as we're now going into the town of Mill Creek, West Virginia. Population 696. So this is actually the largest city that we've come across in this journey. This is a nice little town here. You can actually cut down one of these roads here, and this will take you to a very small and isolated community called Helvetia. They have a Fosnot celebration around every March, and it's kind of like killing ending Old Man Winter. They have a nice celebration for that. A lot of, I believe it's a lot of German residents, at least ancestors, came there many years ago, and a very small community. Elkins is also a town in that area, and they had a graduation class, I believe usually of around, sometimes just around a couple people that graduate, but that's still an active school in there, and it's a little drive down in there. I love to explore that a little bit sometime. But now we're getting closer here to another town. This is going to be, as we're getting a little closer, yes, this is the town of Valley Bend, West Virginia. 485 people live here. Now we're in DAILEY, West Virginia, population 114. Beverly, West Virginia. Population 675 people here. I would like to check out the museum here sometime, and actually the person who designed the Philippi Cover Bridge, Lemuel Chenoweth, had a home here, and he actually built a covered bridge in this town as well. So it's got some history with it, definitely, and definitely some history with the Civil War as well. And now we're going to get on to, look at this, we're on a 5-lane, folks. This is what they call it, the Beverly 5-lane. All right, Elkins, West Virginia, population 7,047. We have made it to our destination, and I thank everyone that has came along with me on this wonderful drive. And you get to see what I've seen many times going across these mountains. And I'm going to, like I said before, you're going to see another video that will be coming up very soon after this one is posted. That will show a little more of the city of Elkins. So I hope you'll enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I sure did, taking you along this little trek across the mountains here. And here is Hiawatha's, and you can see the statue of Minnehaha, and we are turning right in to the parking lot. So that's the video for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you very shortly in the next video.